It's Thursday, 2nd of November 2023. In this evening show, we go over a brace of Jekyll and Hyde performances from the week just gone as we catch up on Saturday's 4-2 home defeat to Peterborough and last night's mental 3-3 draw away in Coldtown. I'm John Aspinall and this is the Seasiders podcast match reaction show. Fleetwood Town 3, Blackpool 3 with a bit of posh.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast. Coming on a Thursday night. Oh, God, what a game last night, eh? What a game. Jekyll and Hyde, I think, Mitch, you've penned, haven't you, in your blogs?
Where did you get that from, John, eh?
Well, stood together on terraces yesterday, weren't we? Purely by chance. It must be a Seasiders podcast aura bringing us naturally together.
You know, it reminded me of those Brat Pack films, you know, sort of like the 80s Brat Pack with all the legends together in one place. It was just incredible.
Even bumped into you outside, Tim, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So it was like,
I
don't know who's going to be Emilio Estevez and who's going to be Tom Cruise, but we'll leave the audience to decide that one.
You could be Michael Douglas, Tim.
I could well be.
As he looks now. I mean, when he looks like in Basic Instinct.
Could well be. I won't go there with yours, John.
Who's yours, Andy? Sammy Davis Jr.?
Yeah, right. Wish they've got Sammy Davis Jr.'s money.
Right. So we've got two games to catch up on. We'll briefly go over Blackpool 2, Peterborough, because we've not done one since then. I think we were all giving our collective sighs of not again when the team sheets came out.
Correct. Yeah, incredibly frustrating. I don't know who you wanted to start. I'll
go on, Tim.
I think it's a bit of deja vu, wasn't it? It sort of took me back to Oxford and my thoughts then, and it was a thought process that was we go on to. Well, I repeated last night, and I think. Listen, I'm not for calling out a player, but we've got a young lad there who's been thrown into probably two or three of the most difficult games we've had this season without necessarily having the attributes that we need to win those games. Let's put it that way. And I think I was frustrated with particularly with Peterborough because I felt it was our opportunity to set our benchmark for the season as to what we're going to be as a team. Are we going to be a team that's going to be up there and around the top two, or are we going to be, trying to sneak into the playoffs? And I really felt it was an opportunity lost. I think losing Norburn, who I think was meant to have a fitness. They were going to assess his fitness before the game, and then he sees he's not on the team sheet, was a slight disappointment. Obviously, whatever it is must be more serious than we thought because it was ditto last night. And I think we're missing him, but I think we've got to get the blend right. And you just look at the team sheet, and this isn't being a clever arse after the event. This is, I had the same.
Well, we picked the team
conversations before Oxford, same conversations
yeah.
before Peterborough, same conversations last night. And it is
team
why the hell are we not picking our best team?
None of us picked Oakley Booth, did we?
Yeah. We did pick Norburn, but
Norburn. Yeah.
But if you but that was on the basis he was fit. But I think if we had to rule Norburn out, we still wouldn't have picked Oakley Booth for the Peterborough game because it was never going to be his type of game for me. I think if you're going to blood lads, you do it. Listen, Bromley on Saturday is an ideal opportunity to blood a player. The Carabao Cup's ideal opportunity the Mickey Mouse Cup ideal opportunity, and then if they perform, then they move up to the starting 11. But for whatever reason, and it's not his fault, whatever reason, he's been pitched into 3 of the most difficult games of the season and hasn't performed in any of them.
We wanted Owen Dale playing, and Dom Thompson started. Was that a mistake?
I think what was bizarre was that probably Morgan had looked the best he had done all year in the midfield against Cheltenham, playing a holding role and letting Dougal do a little bit in front, and then you can have the runners off it. But it was just you looked at the team, Peterborough, collectively, everybody around me when I saw the team just went, "What's he doing? And what's he doing?" And just like shaking our heads and thinking like, "Not today, not today, not today. Do not do what he's doing today." And you just hope to hell that he proves you wrong, because we just started well against Cheltenham, had we not? And you needed the same start. We needed to be on the front foot against Peterborough. You've got to you've got to make the game against them rather than letting them have the game against you. And we were awful, weren't we?
My guess
Passive.
with Oakley Booth is that it's a gamble from Critchley that he's seen him at 16. I mean, he's won stuff, hasn't he, with England age groups. He's been alongside some very, very highly rated players at an earlier phase in his career. And that Critchley's taking a gamble. And that, I don't know whether he's almost tried the mind game of, right, he'll pitch him in and hope that somehow the battle brings out the best in him or something like that. I mean, he's not that young. He's 23. He's not like a 17-year-old. He's not like he's sort of played pick, take, trusty or something. And I don't know. I mean, I think I said this to you, John, last night. I said it to someone last night. He feels like a rescue mission by Critch. He feels like that Critch has decided that he's the man who can bring out the player that once was there, that's lost its way or whatever. And it's not worked, has it?
The game itself, then, obviously they've scored first. Great penalty save from Grimmy. Maybe that would have been a catalyst for us to get back in the game, but it wasn't.
But that would have been 2-0 going in, and for argument's sake, the game runs its same course. We're 4-0 down. There wasn't any chance with 10 men that we were flying back into that, even with a couple of goals. Like, we're never going to go that. Luckily, he'd saved it, and good save, and that gave us half a sniff, I suppose. But I mean, sending off straight after half time was a bit of a kick, and first time I think for a while we've questioned Grimmy with a free kick.
His position was awful.
Set up of the wall as well. It was a huge gap. Gap.
Yeah.
You don't set up a wall and then stand behind it, do you?
No, you fill the gap. You fill the gap, don't you?
Yeah. I was trying to look, and I was desperately trying to look, see if I could see if he took a step onto his left foot, expecting him to curl it around, and maybe he did just take that little step to the left that stopped him getting back over to that side of the goal that he should have been covering. If they go over the wall, I can cope with that.
Yeah,
but I can't cope with him going the goalkeeper's side of the wall. And
Seems
that was first time I've sort of questioned Grimmy that. Really, I can cope with him being caught occasionally in possession because he does play with his feet, doesn't he?
Seem to remember very similar, in the heart of the Grimmy versus Maxwell debate last year. I seem to remember Maxwell getting absolutely slated for a very similar free kick wall situation. So, I mean, we've gone over it time and time again here. I really rate Grimmy, but you have to say he hasn't been at his best of late.
So when we've gone 3-0 down, we started playing. Dembele's on. And I think we mentioned this last week. We've got a massive
actually, just
inability
before
to
the
play
3-0, John, if I remember rightly, just we should have had a penalty, I think, because as with everything that seems to happen these days, it's down at the south end of the ground.
Thank you. That's for me and Matt.
Kouassi got grappled round his neck? Yeah, Andy, you'll have to tell us. But I think the view was down the south end that it was no, it was I can't remember who it was now. Kouassi, CJ, but whoever it was got booked for simulation, didn't he?
Yeah, it's CJ.
CJ, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking Kouassi.
Was he simulating, Andy?
Was it hell? He was just, no. To be fair, it was a clear. If the referee's got the angle we've got, it's a clear pen. But he's not, as he's looking at it from the other side, and the defender's sort of half clever because he's sort of getting his body in the way of the referee. And you know, when defenders put their arm across, the referee's looking from behind, thinking there's nothing going on. They think the attacker's actually making the foul, climbing over the defender almost to try and. But the defender's got their arm out, and when they're strong, the attacker can't get by, and the referee thinks the attacker's made the foul when it's the other way around, really. But
we're kind of getting shafted with pens off refs. We've obviously got one to talk about in the game yesterday. I was raging about seeing it on replay now.
Well, look, let's concentrate on the Peterborough game first, because, I think when Dougal obviously got that goal, and it's a good cross in, and Dougal arrived late, and that's you want to see that from Dougal, and quite arguably Dougal was the best player we had on the day, and he first half was on midfield on his own, it felt like, but he's not. Carey is good in our midfield going forward, right? The problem is with Carey is the going back, and then we'll come to that again later on, I'm sure, with last night. But and I think that's the frustration to people about him. It's not the going forward. Going forward, it looks pretty good to me. He's probably been a bit unlucky, Annie, early on this season, that he's missed a few. He's hit the bar a couple of times, and then he gets that goal on Saturday, and you think we're flying, but then the momentum went out the game again, and that frustrates me when the momentum goes when we're on top.
Why do you think that was?
I just don't know. I think this sort of revert to trying to play instead of just riding the wave. We
were a man down against a good side as well, and we really did have them on the back foot for about a good 20-25 minutes. And I think you've got to.
They were doing the wasting time.
You've got to commend that. But the problem is, as we push forward to try and get the equaliser, we're always going to leave space at the back. We've got to, something's got to give, hasn't it? When you're 10 against 11. Either you concede up front and don't have as many players up there, but when you're chasing the game, you need to push. And particularly when you've got the likes of Dembele on, who hasn't got like a defensive bone in his body, you're effectively down another defensive-wise when you lose possession. And it was gut-wrenching, wasn't it? It was gut-wrenching having put all that effort in. And the lads had to be fair, and the fans had got behind them and really, sort of bought into what they were trying to do. We just got hit by a sucker punch, didn't we? And I've got to say, I'm sick of. It happened again last night. I'm sick of the opposition, particularly Peterborough have got form for it. Come in and rubbing it in your nose, and then they get all offended when something gets chucked at them because
what was that celebration?
They're almost antagonising the crowd.
What were they doing?
But do you remember when we won 4-3 and they went 3-1? They did all that then.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, and the Cods were doing it last night as well, coming and going down on the knees in front of the away fans rather than reeling away and going towards their own fans. And then they get all offended when it causes
Vapes
a
come
reaction.
on and hit throw. Yeah.
I'm not condoning anybody doing anything like that, but the reality is we've got a few, there's a few in our crowd have got a couple of brain cells missing, haven't they? And it doesn't take much encouragement for them to react, but they're literally provoking them. And there was a time when players got booked for doing that, and it seems to have stopped at the moment. And it's about time it started again, I think.
I don't see what's wrong with a swift shake of the hand and a trot back to the centre circle.
Exactly.
Some manly pats on the back.
I said at the time on Saturday when we came back, if we were getting anything out the game, it was more likely to be 4-4 than 3-3. Because we were going to have to throw the kitchen sink at it, and like you said, Tim, it was going to leave gaps at the back. And like you're right, you couldn't fault the players' effort. That's for sure. They put everything in trying to win it or trying to get a draw.
On what would a manager then think, having first of all seen the impact of the substitutes at Oxford, and the impact of the substitutes against Peterborough? What would be the logical conclusion you might draw?
He'd think, well, Lee Johnson will think that I'm going to pick my best team, so I'll second guess him by picking the team that he doesn't think I'm going to pick. What do you think of that, Mike? And then Mike will go, yes, boss.
Yes, boss.
And then off they'll go, and Tashin will come out the bingo machine, and off we'll go again.
I'm going to play Critchley now. And I'm going to look at that and think that midfield in the first half against Peterborough, that can't possibly go so wrong again. It must go right next game. And let's give it another go. But it's insanity, isn't it, to do the same thing again? And
I have said in the past, in his defence, I'm attempting a defence. You said we didn't need a voice of reason for this pod, but I'll try. I have said in the past that one of Critchley's strongest assets is that and it's also one of his most frustrating qualities, is that he's willing to give something an extra game. And sometimes it like CJ, the whole world was going, CJ will never play wing back well. That is a ridiculous idea. And actually CJ has played wing back quite well, and that has proven not to be such a ridiculous idea. But sometimes it is a ridiculous idea, and it appears that this was a ridiculous idea. So I don't know if I've actually stuck up for him there or not.
It's not worked out then.
No, it hasn't worked out, has it?
So the main thing for me was we had a back four when we had Casey sent off, and that made a massive difference. Once again,
I don't buy this. I don't buy this that it's about shape, right? I don't. I think I think you can go back to Critch first time round, and we played 4 at the back virtually every game. We played 5 about 3 times under him. And we had so many games where we were fitful and unenergetic, and we'd be going, for fuck's sake, why is there no creativity? Why don't we give it a go? Why are we sitting in? I think 5-3-2, 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, whatever, I think it boils down to when we're on I think Tim nailed it before, is actually when we're on the front foot, we get the best out of the players we've got. When we've got the right players on the pitch to play, and when we play on the front foot, that gets the best out of the players we've got. And when we're on the back foot, then we're weak and we're vulnerable. And I think you could put us out in any number of positions, it's formations, and I don't think we magically become a better football team. It's about, for me, intent and commitment, and giving those 1 or 2 players, your Dembele's or your Careys or Dale or whoever it is, those 1 or 2 players, the head to go and go, get attacking, get playing, get forward, get up. It's encapsulated in CJ. He's bloody awful if he sits deep and plays the sort of fullback role, but he's actually pretty good if he's his main role is to be dynamic. And I think that works I think that holds true no matter what formation we play.
Mark G disagrees. Buy it. The 5 is horrible. Too often defenders are left looking at one of the well and something goes wrong. I agree, Mark. Andy, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just I think that alluding to what you said there, Mitch, is that the ball moves faster when we're playing well. The ball
Yeah.
moves, and we're that so often we get stuck because we've got so many defenders over with one attacker running round our three centre backs trying to pass the ball around. And I do get the Critchley thing where he's saying that you have to pass it around to draw them onto you to create space. I do get all that. But we in the last two games, we've just looked like at times we've just handbrakes completely off, and we've just gone to hell with anything, to hell with tactics. Let's just go at them and get at them and just be like
whenever
terriers
we get at them, we play really well and things happen. Whenever we don't get at them, we see what we saw in the first half against Fleetwood.
You can look like world beaters for like
do.
Yeah. I was just going to say that.
and
It's
then
not like
then
we're-
suddenly we look like a change happens and
I think
he just goes like, what are you thinking? I think I
It's-
turned around to you, Tim, when he made that sub last night, and I was just like, with 10 minutes ago, going like,
I couldn't believe it when
why?
he's done.
Why when we're on top? Why when we're on top?
I mean,
Should we,
yeah,
should we move on to Fleetwood then?
Anyway.
Should we move on to it? Right, let's start with the starting 11. That doesn't look very good, does it? I found a new layout. It's not great. That's the one. There we go. Right, this was it. Grimshaw, 3 centre halves, Pennington, Ekpiteta, Husband, Ekpiteta in the middle, right wing back Hamilton, left wing back Dale, Carey Dougal, Oakley Booth in the middle, Kwesi and Rhodes. Tim.
Yeah, well,
I
mean,
you drove to the game, didn't you? When did you find out? I found out when I actually got there because I lost my ticket and had to. Oh, sorry, just before we start, big up the ticket office for sorting out my tickets because I lost them, got chucked away. So I phoned up the ticket office and they sorted it out with Fleetwood, and I had to go to Fleetwood ticket office and get them. So well done, ticket office.
They're great in the ticket office, to be fair.
Sorry, anyway, go on.
Yeah, well, I think I was in Weatherspoons in Fleetwood at the time, because we've been in Cleveland for a couple and then just nipped up to Weatherspoons before the game, so I wasn't driving. But two things that sort of stood out for me. First of all, and I don't want to over-egg it again, but it was the fact that Oakley Booth was in again, thinking, oh my God, does he never learn? And then also I was slightly concerned with the back three with Ekpiteta in the middle, because they, again, revisiting any pod in the last 12 months, well, not 12 months, but this season, how many times have we said that Ekpiteta in the middle of that back three, it's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Very surprised Dembele wasn't in, got to say. I think if I was looking at, if I was trying to put myself in Critchley's shoes, I can sort of accept the Ekpiteta, but what I'd have probably done, I'd have either played Morgan, who probably was the one who deserved the shirt in ahead of Oakley Booth, or I'd have even considered, if you're going to play your golden child, I'd have played Connolly alongside Dougal in centre mid, then with Dembele in front in a free role. On the basis, I'd be saying to those two, sit tight, let Dale and Hamilton push forward, but control the defensive third of our midfield. And that protects Ekpiteta as well.
There's probably an argument for sticking Connolly centre half. And that is actual.
Well,
that is his position after all, and he's never played it for us.
Yeah.
Ever.
And maybe even playing the back four because it suits Ekpiteta more than. So that would have been. But if you're going to stick with the three and you're going to stick with your system, there's two options there, just screaming out to be considered. One's Connolly if you want to play defensive, but that means that for me that necessitates playing Dembele and releasing him, or you play Morgan and then have Dougal and Carey, or Dembele, whichever you want. But probably if you're going to play Carey, I would have probably stuck with Morgan, because slightly more fluid midfield than Connolly's quite defensive, isn't he? So So, but a no. And you've also got to bear in mind, I know we diss the Cods, don't we? But they've started playing quite well. They were very unlucky not to beat Barnsley on Saturday. They're at home. It's a windy Wednesday night. Good pitch, to be fair. Thought the pitch looked in excellent condition. And they were always going to come at us. They were always going. Listen, without a shadow of a doubt, the game means more to them than us as a derby, if you're going to call it a derby. I don't, but if you're gonna look at it, it's going to be they're going to be fighting for everything, and you've got to have fighters in there to match them. You've got people who are prepared to go toe to toe with them. Did we? I don't think we did.
Why does he never deviate from this formation? They had a back four. I think they played a 4-2-3-1. I think we should have matched that. Yeah. Gives us more creative.
But particularly because of Ekpiteta. It's obvious. The reason Ekpiteta got dropped is because he can't play in the centre of a back three. That's why he got dropped.
But he didn't exactly shine in the back four last year. I still think, I know I'm banging the drum and just I'm genuinely not just disagreeing for the sake of it. I think we go back to how we played with the back four under Critchley first time round, and we had different personnel. And I don't think we've got that quality of either defensive midfielder, certainly without Norburn, and we don't have the quality of the back four. We don't have Keogh. We don't have Dan Ballard. We don't have, God bless him, Ollie Turton at right back. We've only got one left back really meaningfully in the squad in Jimmy, because do we really want Dom Tom playing at left back? And I think he's gone all in on this formation because I think he's reflected on what he did last time, and I genuinely think I criticised him last time for being I praised him for being tactically flexible, but on the other hand, for being so chameleonic that we'd ended up not really knowing who we needed to buy because we played a different way every week. We ended up with players that we didn't really know why we had them and what we'd bought them for. And then occasionally we'd switch formation and we'd see them because they fitted that formation and they'd disappear again. And I actually do see why you would go all in on a formation and you'd go, right, this is what we're doing, and you'd coach everybody to do the same thing. And I do also see the benefit of that structurally for bringing through younger players and bringing them up the ranks and so on. And I think it's a difficult one because I think it was one of the things that potentially was an undoing for him last time round, and he's addressed it, but it's now a frustration this time round.
We do have to pause briefly, of course, to recognise the Timism that was chucked in there, and which John very ignorantly ignored. So
no, I heard it. Mitch. I did hear it. Mitch was Mitch was mid monologue, so I didn't want to interrupt him.
I'm quite tired tonight, so I don't actually know what I'm saying.
Chameleonic. I mean, that's up there. That is. Like, you do well at Scrabble with that one.
Right. So I'll go to a shorter version of the best thing I heard last night. Bear in mind, this was when that team came out. It was the most kindest thing I heard about the team when everyone saw it. FFS. And that was it. And like next thing I heard was,
Fleetwood have won one game at home all season. They've won one game.
They'd scored 2 goals at home all season, and they scored 3 against us. Cheltenham hadn't scored 2 in a game all season and scored 2 against us. Right? I am here tonight to call out this manager. I do not think he's doing the right things for this group of players, and he needs to sharpen his act up and fast.
Yeah.
Right.
What then is the right? What's the
Well-
right thing for this group of players, Andy? I'm genuinely interested in this as a question. Is the right thing for this group of players to go, oh shit, we're conceding too many goals and try and make us more solid? Or is it to go, right, we concede some goals, but we've got some absolutely dynamite players and we could go out there and score 5, so who cares? I don't know. And I don't know which. And what I worry is that he goes, oh yeah, we are conceding goals. And then he that's why he keeps picking the defensive midfielders and things that we don't want to see over the players that we do want to see, is because he's trying to address, I don't know, I suppose what I'm trying to say is I worry that he's fundamentally more bothered about not conceding goals, and that ironically is making us concede goals, because this is not a group of players that are particularly good at containing the other side. They're far better when they get on the front foot.
Oh yeah, you've nailed it there.
And the
He's-
old adage is the best form of defence is attack. So
Play
when
your
you're
best.
attacking, you aren't defending, are you? You don't need to defend. You're not concerned about your defending, because in that as we're going to, in the periods when we're showing a rich vein of form in any game, and it's becoming, there's a pattern to all our games that we can only play at best for one half. We can only play decent football in one half. We seem incapable of doing it over two. But when we are playing well, there's no defensive mistakes, because we're that much on top that the other team aren't doing anything.
Just
But it literally is when we seem to change the way we play, we turn
That's
into
when the
this
problems happen.
kamikaze football team that looks like it's incapable of, it looks like one of the worst teams in the division. And it is literally so black and white between the way we see ourselves play, which is clearly a team that would win the league, and a team who doesn't look capable of stringing more than 3 or 4 passes together at any point in a game. And it is the Jekyll and Hyde, the chameleon, whatever you want to call it. It is. I don't think I can recall such a stark contrast between the way we play that's been repeating itself in every game. It happened at Oxford, it happened at Cheltenham, it happened at Peterborough, albeit where we went down to, well, still most of the half, down to 10 men. It happened again last night.
Burton first game. Remember that?
And you go all the way back. If you go back through it, I would say probably 80% of our games have followed that pattern.
It's almost Steve McMahon, isn't it? I mean, like, we would be horrible under Macca and then brilliant. And it's that kind of, and that's really not what I expected this second phase of Critchley to be like, if that makes sense. I remember under McMahon, we would be, 2-0 down to some Northampton or something, and then suddenly we'd pull out this incredible period of play where we looked like we could be in the Premier League. And then we'd manage, that was quite, we got quite used to that sort of consistent inconsistency, where it was it was kind of quite difficult for quite a long period to know whether we were happy or unhappy with that particular team, because they would be really good and really crap in the space of a couple of games or in the space of a game. And it's just not what I expected this second phase of Critchley to be like. I thought it would be uber organised, and it's not.
We sometimes morph into our manager as a club, don't we? And like we morphed into our manager when Holloway was the manager, right? Just full on madness attack, and now with Critchley, as soon as we get either in front or back in a game or at the start of games, at times, we just over careful. Just seems like there's no intensity in the game for us, right? And we either don't start with it or have it and lose it, and just I know you can't keep full on battering, but you can keep with our players. I mean, that left back of theirs last night. Honestly, I thought he was still dizzy last night. He was still taking tablets when Bowler ripped him a new backside when he played for Preston against us, right? When in that 4-2 game, right? It just it was hopeless. He couldn't stop CJ. Like, get him the ball, thread it between the centre half and the left back, and let him just run. And like, he's about the worst left back I've ever seen. Just like attack him. And then
let's move on to the game.
I know.
Andy.
Just 1 second, John.
Go on.
I keep saying when CJ gets to the byline, somebody has to make the run to the penalty spot or the edge of the area, right? And somebody has to be there. And the players must understand that. That's coaching. That's what he should coach. And too many times there's no one there, and CJ's not got a ball to play, so he ends up booting it across the 6-yard box, and the defender, if the defender's doing the right thing, the defender will clear it.
You're 100% spot on with that, John. Andy, sorry. Do you remember, John, I said to you, I'm pretty sure I said to you in the game, look how few players we've got in the box at the end of that move, and compare it to the goal Fleetwood scored when they overloaded our box with about 6 or 7 players and scored. And that first half, we would not committing players to the box. There were multiple times CJ or Dale got wide, played the ball in, and it ended up looking like a crap ball, but it actually wasn't a particularly crap ball. It was a ball into the box that could have been dangerous when there was Rhodes and maybe Kouassi in there, and we just hadn't committed anybody. And as you say, Andy, we hadn't got anybody who'd done that sort of diagonal run to the penalty spot for that little cutback that he does. That's spot on.
We did though, Mitch. You just couldn't see it because of the high intensity neon advertising boards that they've got at Fleetwood.
They were like,
let's talk about that. They're a joke.
They were like what? Horrendous. I don't know if you've ever been out at night in Bowland, because I live quite near the Forest of Bowland. If you're driving at night, they have the Jeeps that have the stun lights on them, so that they go like poof and turn on the floodlights, and they stun the birds because it's all shooting land up there. And they're like, poof, and if you happen to be on one of those little roads when one of those Jeeps has gone poof and turned on the stun lights, it's like, Jesus Christ, it's lethal. It's like looking into them. The ball just kept disappearing, and you kind of go, oh no, we've got a corner I don't want to watch.
And then we're wearing a black kit in a night game and the contrast. I struggled sometimes to make out our players. I don't know whether they were having not when it obviously went down this end, and my sight isn't brilliant. But dazzle, and then you're looking at the pitch. It's like,
it was a double whammy. It's like you literally lose the ball. It's like, what's going on?
You said it, Tim, after about 2 minutes, didn't you? Yeah. You said it. You just can't see anything down the other end. It's just like the lights from those boards were just like insane on your eyes.
I was about to say, what was it like on TV? David Coleman's just said the boards were dreadful on TV. I've just watched the extended highlights, and it's even worse on TV than in the flesh. So it's, joking aside, surely there's something that breaking like EFL regulations with those boards. I was thinking of writing a strongly worded letter to the EFL and complaining about it, actually. I might do.
We've got Nappers in the chat. Come on, Nappers, what do you think about that?
Where is he?
Well, he's standing behind him. He's all right.
Yeah.
What's he got to say? Game was even. We scored 2 quick goals and felt a totally different game. Felt like you were never out of it. Subscribe. How Dembele isn't playing for you is daft.
Anyway,
that's an understatement.
He might be a cod, but it's good to see Nappers well again, and good health to your Nappers. But I still don't wish good on your team. But like, I think you're not a bad lad, really.
The beds were awful on TV. I didn't realise you were watching Shakespeare, Shane. Maybe you should have watched Blackpool. You could see Dale most of the time in the first half camera angle. Yeah, they need to sort that out though. I couldn't stand that if that was our games every week. Mind you, they're not missing much at Fleetwood, are they? 2 goals at home all season, but 3 against us.
Well, let's get Gretchen. He'll sort it out. He'll get it organised.
Anyway, let's get on to this game. And I don't think we were too bad at the start.
Yeah, we started okay.
Yeah, to be fair, Rhodes hit the bar and he nearly ended his 1-game scoring drought.
Nick's coupon was busted, wasn't it, yesterday? I wonder if we got him on an assist.
2 games running. 2 games running, he's nearly in deficit. Yeah, we had that and the carry shot, didn't we, before they scored? But like, we didn't start too bad. But again, you go back to what we were saying about the midfield. still, even though we're on top, Oakley Booth didn't really do much. It's not like he did anything in that period to think, okay, yeah, that's why you've been picked. You're just on the periphery of the game, wasn't he? And when he got shoved off that ball in a 50-50 and
that was a big moment
out
for me, Andy. It's like
and
you're in there to
no.
cover Norburn, and you're bottling out of a 50-50. Like, get him off. As soon as I saw that, it disgusted me. That in a localist derby.
Like when the other team's up for it and you get that, you just want. Honestly, that time you could have subbed him for me in that minute.
I'm a bit shocked, actually. It was 23. I had it in my head. I'm not a bit ticklish stat on it. But if you'd asked me how old he was, I'd have said about 20. I didn't realise he was 23. He's
almost a seasoned pro, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's been around the block a bit. He was at Tottenham, I think I'm right in saying. That's where he was kind of the boy of great potential, playing in, I think it was the under-16s or the under-17s. I'm sure he's won something with England in an age group, a European or a world age group title. I think I'm right in saying that.
He looks like Grant Wardo, Mitch, as we pointed out yesterday. He's like, you said that to me. I was like, yeah, he does.
After the game, I said, he looks like Grant Ward's shit evil doppelganger, which might be a bit harsh. But he was at Stoke. So he's got a Stoke and he's not made it there, has he? And
Lincoln who's out then.
Did he have attitude problems at Lincoln? There's been reports.
Yeah, I mean, they from what I read of what they thought of him, made what we thought about, say, Tyrese John Jules look really tame. Like, they really, really disliked him. They didn't just think he was crap. They seemed to really dislike him. Look, I've already tried to be the voice of reason, and I'm actually going to work against that. I really struggled with him last night, and it was his body language, and it was not. I don't know if it's his natural body language, if he's just one of those people who has a kind of fairly loping gait and a kind of relaxed look to him. But I genuinely struggled. He looked like he was a bit annoyed to be playing, like it was a bit inconvenient. You know, he didn't look up for it, and he didn't look like. Look, I will stick up for players all day long. Like I've stuck up for Carey all season, and Carey hasn't always been brilliant, but Carey looks like he's really trying, and sometimes he does look a bit nervous or he looks a bit on edge, but he never looks like he can't be arsed. He never looks like he doesn't really want to be there. And Oakley Booth just sort of loped about, and I was kind of watching him for a few minutes, and it was like he was just sort of dropping into little spaces where he was safe, which is, you know, it's what a lot of people have accused Sonny of, but he hadn't got any of the other side of the game. He didn't try one interesting pass. I can't remember him carrying the ball more than about 2 yards. And he just seemed to like be there to trot into a little bit of space and play a 2-yard pass. And it's like, what's the point? Because if you're playing in that role, your job is literally to make it difficult for the opposition so that the attacking players can have the space to play and don't have to worry about defense as much. That's why you're on the pitch in that role. And he just didn't want to play that role. And I really struggled with it. And I think it's a long time since I've really dug a player out on here. And the last one was probably CJ. So hopefully this is the beginning of us, you know, a road to cult status for him.
And let's be fair, we don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to.
None of us want to dig out a player. And especially a young lad and whatever. And is 23, do we quantify him as young lad? I don't know.
No.
But he's just he just hasn't got what it takes at this level. Or that's on what we've seen so far anyway. But
to give him a place in the team ahead of Dembele, he's just all right to play different positions, but it's mind-boggling.
There's 3 players ahead of him for that position. 3.
Yeah.
You know, because I'll go back to conversation before. I'd play Connolly in a more defensive role, which means you can push Dougal a bit further forward along with some. And you've got Morgan, who's actually playing the best football he's played since he joined us in the last 3 or 4 weeks. in that defensive midfield role,
and then got dropped.
and then gets dropped. So, and you're thinking it defies belief. It actually does, and it's actually I'm starting to get quite annoyed with it. You shouldn't get annoyed about a player being picked for the team, but I am starting to get pretty annoyed because it's completely unjustified.
Somebody said to me last night that Oakley Booth must have some photos on his phone of Critchley and Cookson Street.
Keegan Parker.
Oh, aye. Throw those chips.
Like that one where he pulled out the tackle, he then just shoved him over. He pulled out the tackle, the lad went past him, and then just shoved him over with two open hands, which it wasn't even like there was no attempt to disguise it. You know, it's like there's no subtlety to it. It was just like, oh, he's beaten me, I'll shove him over. Like, and I kind of just thought
it's a typical academy player to me, Mitch, that's played as Val Chen just said. Oakley Booth won the under-17 World Cup, was in the same team as Naya Kirby, and I've said about him the better. We loaned from Palace a few years back, so he's a typical example of a pampered academy player for me.
I mean,
just picking up on Dazzy's point.
I was just going to point
about Casey.
Yeah, let's talk about Casey. Yeah.
Well, he's made the point about Casey that Casey was poor or he was getting called out. But what happened with Casey was we sent him out on loan, and he played for 12 months, week in, week out, a team at lower level, and has come back a better player. In many respects, the criticisms of him first time round were justified. So just saying, look at Casey, I don't think works, because Casey, first time round, wasn't good enough to be in the team. And to be fair, Critchley didn't hardly played him. And what we're talking about now is somebody who's in the same position. He needs to get some game time, maybe at a lower level, but maybe he thinks Blackpool's beneath him. I don't know. You know, if he's played in the World Cup at under-17 and he's been at Tottenham and Stoke and whatever, maybe he's thinking, where the hell am I tipping up here? And maybe his attitude's wrong. But he isn't good enough to be in our team at the moment. So if his attitude is, why the hell am I here? And I'm not saying that's what it is, but looking at his body language, it could be. Then, well, you shouldn't be, because you should be down in Division 2 or maybe even in the National League, because that's the standard he's playing at. I
think to there's two things I think that probably have to say for balance is, one, if he gets picked again and he comes out and he fights and he plays and he shows us what he can do, that's
doesn't
brilliant.
Deserve it though, does he? He doesn't deserve another chance.
Well, maybe he doesn't deserve another chance next week, but maybe, if he works hard, another chance comes around. That's great. I don't want to be in this thing where you just write a player off on the basis of a crap display, because it's hard being a professional footballer, playing in front of thousands of people, watching everything, and every move you make, it's difficult. And two, Critchley has got form for he does not suffer players who are not putting the effort in for long. So he signed Sarkic, and Sarkic became like a mystery man. We saw him about 6 times, and we never saw him again, because he obviously was a bit overweight and he was, wasn't really doing what he was told to do. He signed numerous players. He signed MJ Williams. He came in at the door again quite quickly. He signed Kemp and Woodburn. They came in on loan. He obviously didn't like what he saw. He got rid of them quickly. Signed John Jules the last time. Came in 6-7 games. We were all raging about him, and he binned him off fairly quickly. And I think it's probably, as I said before, Critch is. I don't want to slate Critch for trying something and trying to unearth a diamond. Sometimes you this is going to be a dreadful metaphor, but sometimes you go mining for a diamond and all you bring up is gravel and muck, and that sometimes happens. He's made the wrong call. He's surely got the message now that that's not a call he can feasibly make again. And I would trust Critchley if there is, if there is a question about his attitude or his application or his mindset or he's freezing in games or he's hiding in games or whatever he is. He might be working his arse off in training and then freezing under the, in the game. We just don't know. But whatever that is, I think Critchley he won't tolerate that for long.
Got blinded by the advertising hoarding.
Yeah, that's it. The advertising boards. He couldn't see.
I think when when you understand that if Carey's playing, Carey's going to be good going forward, and he's going to offer you not a lot coming back. He struggles to track his runners. He tries, and he tries to get back, but he's not good at it.
It's not his job, though, is it? I've heard this a lot, Andy. It's not Carey's job, and
I've heard
a lot of people digging him out about this.
No,
he's
I'm not digging him out here.
Not you personally. I'm just saying there's a lot of chatter about that, and that's not
there is.
What Carey's good at.
And you understand what people are trying to get at when we're playing the way we are. That sometimes you're going to have to do some of that work, but it's not his strength, right? So, as Tim said earlier, like if you know that's not his strength, and you want to go, if you're going to play Carey, you're going to play Carey. If you're going to play Dembele in there instead, then fine, right? But whichever way you go there, you've got to have two people that are strong and track the runners, right? And Dougal last night defensively was playing on his own in that midfield, right?
Yep.
And I think to a man on the terrace or man, woman, child, or whatever, you'd feel sorry for Kenny last night. He just looked as though he didn't know which way to turn because he didn't know who to cover, whether to do his own job, whether to be careful about where Carey's run is going to come from,
it boils back to the formation again, though. Boils back to this formation again.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he's
like just two. Should have two, a defensive two, 4-2-3-1.
And you just think like Critchley's watched enough football, and we're going to come back to this next point. The elephant in the room with Critchley is he's got two yes men behind him, and he needs somebody who's going to really challenge him.
So 4-2-3-1, John. Who do you play on up front on their own? Because Rhodes needs a partner. We decided the other week Rhodes is scoring because he needs a partner. Kouassi on his own, and can we trust Lavs to play week in, week out?
Don't know. Could we put Rhodes up front on his own? We've never seen it.
We decided on the pod the other week that the reason why he's scoring.
Well, we don't know though because he never tries anything. He never tries anything. We've never seen anything apart from this formation.
Matt, I'm not against the system. What I'm against is the way that it's either S or bust, SH or bust, or we're going to be passive. There's there's almost no halfway house, right? And he won't play the system and then try and move the ball quickly. I think actually, thinking back, the time when we've done it the best, Stevenage, who was struggling a little bit for players at the time, but Stevenage probably was our best that we've probably done it. I don't know. I might be wrong, but
no, I think you're right. I think Stevenage and Reading are probably our two best periods in games when we've genuinely dominated for a period.
Yeah, but the ball was moving. The ball wasn't slow. Oh, Marv's just been caught in possession. And as soon as Marv went out the team, we started to move the ball quicker, right? And then that's what you're looking for. But he's standing there. He has these players every day. And then how can we, as laymen, look at that and go, we could have told him what was going to happen in that first half before it happened.
Let's talk about what happened then. Let's get back on track. The two goals, extremely soft goals to give away in the that's a bit of an understatement, really. Tim, are you ready for bed? That's what Harry went.
No, I was just listening. To be fair, I'm listening to some good good analysis from the two other guys and quite enjoying it. So I'm quite happy to listen and come back in when I'm ready.
We're silent, Tim. Andy, what have we done?
Hey,
Talk about the first two goals then. Talk about the first two goals.
Yeah, well, my view was on the first one. I think, and I think this probably comes back a little bit to the point that the guys were talking about then, which is in relation to not having the right people in those central midfield positions. I felt that Carey let his man go a little bit too easily, and allowed him to, I might be being overly critical, but I thought he was with him, wasn't he? And then he didn't track him.
He wasn't closed down though by the defence.
No, well, he got
as
in
was
front
the case on their third goal as well.
He got in front of. He did what a good attacking player does, didn't he? And he got in front of Dougal and made it very, very difficult for Dougal to get a challenge in on him. He's got himself in front. And to be fair, we've spoken about. I think Carey can be quite good at this when he's playing, of actually just making sure that he gets. He puts himself in front of the defender, and it creates a very, very difficult situation for the defender. Do I put a foot in, bring him down, get yellowed, or if I'm really unfortunate, redded, maybe give a penalty away if it's in the area, or most certainly a very dangerous free kick, or do you let it ride? And Dougal didn't feel he could put the tackle in, and then the lads, hit, to be fair, quite a decent left-footed shot that's plonked itself in the corner of the net. I don't think with that one really that Grimmy could have done too much about it. But it was incredibly frustrating. Obviously, I realised what it's like now to be at the South End, because I actually saw a few goals last night behind our goal. Being with Andy,
I did tell you that. I did,
and
tell
Sharpie
you
and everybody else. So
because you were there, Andy, wasn't it? You were there. You're sucking that ball in. Yeah.
I told him before when it was 0-0. I said, I hope you're ready for this, because there's going to be goals at this end. Blackpool only score at our end, and blow me down. Yeah.
And I think then we move on to the second, where we've got to say that Grimmy didn't exactly cover himself with glory, did he? Because the shot, it was a fairly tame shot at him. Whether he was expecting something more significant, and he arguably should have held it, or most certainly pushed it away from the goal, but he sort of fumbled it, and the follow-up strike found the back of the net.
There's no one else following in, which annoyed me.
Yeah.
It was quite an easily contested header that they just won quite easily. What's that weird noise?
And I've been hearing it for about 5 minutes. I don't know what it is.
Do you remember the other week?
Plumbing.
No, do you remember the other week I made a joke about there being a fly in the room and John being able to pick it up? Well, I've actually got some sort of wasp or something flying around.
It's really loud though. Is it flying around with an amplifier tied to it?
No, it's just flying around.
It's like a
So it's quite big and it looks quite lethal, to be honest. So I'll if I disappear on mute,
oh god,
I'll try and deal with it. But
Grimmy, unpopular opinion, Grimmy isn't a very good shot stopper. That's a bit harsh, Nemo. Blimey. Mark GT, it sounds like a Wookiee. Yes, it does. That's the perfect.
I'll try and deal with it. Right, but
I think as well though, in his only defence with regard to it, to me, it was from very close. It was 6-7 yards out or whatever when
the pitch looked very slippery as well, Andy. I don't know if you noticed that. It was a very wet surface, wasn't it?
He'd already slipped, and they nearly gifted him a goal because he slipped earlier on, and then he'd struggled to hold a shot further on from that. But that one was from close, and he's just stuck a hand out trying to stop it, hasn't it? And it's just bobbled out to the guy. And
it comes back to the point I was making, Andy. I think you're almost expecting a better shot at that point, and then when you get that in this, it was a bit of a scuff, wasn't it? He's probably not quite what he was expecting.
Yeah,
but you do.
It's like surprises you because if you're expecting it, I don't know. Cricket analogy, I suppose, is you're expecting the ball a bit quicker, and suddenly There's an element of surprise because it's a bit slower than you think when it arrives. And
I think with a goalkeeper, you make a slight error, you're punished in the form of a goal going in. I think we need to remember that the goalkeeping position is the hardest position on the pitch. You make a slight error even, and there's a goal gone in, and you get nailed for it. So probably need to give him a bit of.
Do you remember we did?
slack.
Where did you play the other week? And I sort of
Yes.
started off as a keeper and moved to being a defender. And I literally couldn't be arsed with every week getting shouted at for things that, the players in front of me make all sorts of mistakes. And then you go off at half time, and then you'd made one mistake, and then they'd go, why did you drop that one? Why did and you'd be like, you've made loads of mistakes, but no one ever talked about them. And then when I got to being about 12 or 13, I just thought, I can't be arsed with this anymore. I wasn't a particularly good goalkeeper, but I was probably a better goalkeeper than I was anything else. It was all right, but I just couldn't be bothered with it.
now you're a beekeeper.
Yeah. It's good you turn the camera off. I managed to bat it out, but I very nearly fell backwards over the chair I've got the laptop on. It would have been a piece of slapstick classic.
That'd be next.
Could also be a Partridge podcast, this, couldn't it?
Be your next book, From Goalkeeper to Beekeeper.
My story.
Well, you and David Beckham is so there you go. There's obviously a correlation between footballers and beekeeping, isn't there? If you watch the documentary,
Well,
he keeps bees, as you do.
Yeah.
He does.
Just as an aside, in the first half, when you didn't think things could get any worse, CJ.
Oh man. The cross.
Not digging you out, CJ, but he's done well to win the ball in the far right corner.
He had it done really well.
Really
You
well.
think he's going to clear it up the line, don't you?
Floats one in perfectly to the back post for Marriott to nearly get on the end of it.
Marriott was very good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's not just he didn't just score two, but I looked him up and he's nearly 30, but he's one of them players. He's nearly 30, but he's only played about 150 games, so possibly he's one of them players that never quite was because of injury. But I was very impressed with him. And aside from the two goals, I thought he was very good. His control and his awareness was very good. Anyway, it's not a CODS podcast, so enough of that.
So
Did anyone think we should have made subs before half time? I was one.
I was right up there. Critchley was never going to do it, but I think between 40 and 45 minutes, I think Critchley got a little bit of the flavour from the South Stand Ultras, what he should have expected. And Colin certainly told him how he felt. Sharpie was telling him how he felt. I was telling him how I felt.
Were you in the terrace or the stand or the seats?
Oh, behind the goal, or to the right of the goal we were. On the bottom by this time. We were on the rail.
Probably wouldn't have been able to have heard you from there then. Should have been in the seats, really.
I think he heard everybody at half time, though, didn't he?
Critchley sort it out was the chant, wasn't it?
Well, and he maintains he went in the changing room and didn't really say too much. He just had a bit of encouragement for the lads and made two changes.
Well,
and something happened at half time. Oh, by the way, like whoever the staff member is that was out at half time in the Puma boots, whether he's the S&C coach or whatever. Anyway,
blonde-haired lad, wasn't it?
The blonde-haired lad, yeah. So they're all warming up and whatever. And anyway, Colin was advising him, if he wouldn't awfully mind, to go and tell Critchley to sort it out, and that he was probably that Critchley. I think Colin's words were Critchley is probably useless, and to that of mine. And so the staff member concerned gave it the old shush to Colin. I thought that was ill-advised, and I think that might come back to haunt him at some stage in the future. So, whoever you are, Mr. Staff Member, you shouldn't have done that. That wasn't.
Red
The biggest, one of the biggest cheers of not the first half and break combined was when you saw the call being given out to Dembele and Lavery to go back.
Brunskill came out.
Yeah. They were out training, weren't they? They were out training on the pitch with the rest of them, but those two got beckoned over. And
Brunskill came out fresh from his duties of telling Critchley what a lovely man he was, and yes, Neil, yes, Neil, yes, Neil. Fresh from his absolute duties there, and so he ran out and like put them through the paces for a couple of minutes, and then got them in, and then then started the our hope for the future of the second half, because Dembele was coming on. I think you saw the cheer, didn't you, when it got announced that he was coming on?
Mitch, I said to you on a couple of occasions, like, about Dembele, just some of the things he was doing in that second half was just it was unreal. Like, he's falling on the ball but still coming out with it. But what a massive difference he made, and it just lifted the whole team. And then, 3 minutes in, and we were back in the game.
Well, for me, if you've got a player of that ability, and you'll remember me saying this time and time again about Bowler, if you've got a player of that ability, they're not a luxury player, they're an absolute necessity, because that player not only does the things they do individually, but that player gives every other player on your team a lift in terms of belief, because you think, psychologically as a footballer, it must be really, really difficult. Sometimes I go to work some days thinking, I'm not sure I'm very good at my job. I'm sure we all do. I'm sure everybody does in the world. Thinks that sometimes. And I don't have to do that in front of 10, 15, 20,000 people all shouting at me, calling me crap and what have you. But if you've got a teammate that you think, do you know what? It don't matter if I'm not the best footballer in the world. If I work my arse off and I win the ball and I give it to him, he can do something, he can score a goal, then that to me is worth any words that you can say to the players. It's worth that self-belief is worth any, bit of tactical insight that you can put in there. That little belief that one player gives them is unbelievable. And I think we just came out in that second half, and every time he's been on the pitch, probably apart from when he played up front against Derby, where he was in the wrong position, every time he's been on the pitch, we just look so energized, so much more, joyful and happy to be there, because we've got this belief that we can get at the opposition, we can score goals, and that's what everybody wants. That's what the players want.
He plays like a 1980s Brazilian, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's samba football when he's playing. And I think, and just picking up on a comment from Darren in the in the comments, I suppose the question to be asked is he a 90 minutes player?
We don't know though. We don't.
And
know,
if he isn't, why isn't he? Is his physique? Is it his stamina? I don't know. For me, he always looks brilliant when he comes off the bench. But we've got to see whether he could, whether we can transition to being a starter who can impact for the full 90 minutes. Because you always get the impression he either plays the first 60 or the last 30, and he's better than that. I mean, he's incredible to watch. He's one of those players where if he was on the opposition side, I think Nappers has said it in the comments, didn't he? How the hell doesn't Dembele start? And I think we're all thinking that, but is there a reason? Is there a reason why it's happening? And is he more effective when he comes on and legs are tiring and he can really go at teams? I don't know, but he's incredible to watch. It's a privilege to see some of the stuff he does, and and he's got a very, very sweet left foot when he gets hold of it as well. So
it looks as though he's going to score, Tim, doesn't he? You know, he's not scored last night, but he looked as though he was looking for opportunities to score. He wasn't just laying it off, turning, going back, going. He wasn't doing that. He was looking for the advance all the time.
Well, if you look at both our first 2 goals and you look quite deep in those moves, he's actually come really deep, almost into a 6 type position. And he's involved in both those moves with really nice little, almost like maybe not quarterback passes because they weren't long, but, you know, those kind of passes that you'd almost expect Norburn to be making.
The weighted passes, aren't they? In behind, splitting the defence.
And he pulled players around so much. I mean, we joked, didn't we, about the gravity player thing we came up with once in a pod, but he was almost like the definition of that. And the space that opened up for Carey, who had a really, really good second half, the space that opened up for Carey, because they're like, hang on a minute, where's this guy going? He's over here, he's over there, he's over here, he's over there. So suddenly Carey is just sort of in his push of the pitch going, oh, I've got loads of space.
Well, there were times then when he got the ball where there were 3 men round him.
Yeah.
So like you're saying there. So
just
it opened
caused
up space for other players.
Just confusion in the Fleetwood back line. They just didn't know what was going on, did they?
Didn't
They
know how to
were
play.
And because he's not playing in set position, he's incredibly difficult to mark because he's like a will of a wisp. He's here 1 minute, here the next minute, and you try and follow him round, and you're gonna be knackered yourself just trying to keep pace with where he's at. And that's the way to play him. He's not to give him a position, just tell him to go on and make an absolute menace of himself.
There's one bit of control, right? And the only way I could describe it is if I threw you a tennis ball now and you caught it with your hand like that, I've almost like to explain that for the audio listeners then, as if they needed a guide to what catching a ball.
Oh, go ahead. This is primarily an audio pod, so away you go.
So if I were to throw you a tennis ball and you caught it with your hand, if you look down at your own hand, that's a hand. Anyway, the only way I could describe it is he took the ball with his feet like somebody catching a tennis ball with his hand. He like killed it, and it held on his foot, and it was like he put it down and then started playing with it. I've never seen anybody do that on a football pitch so well. There's moments where you just go, wow, I've never seen somebody that good at what he does. And I'm not saying he's the best player I've ever seen, because I've seen, there's other players. You've got your Weses and in his own way, Bowler, and obviously Charlie in a different way, and so on and so forth. But there's little bits where you're like, this lad's off the scale.
He's up there with Wes Hoolahan for me. I think I said that yesterday. Yeah. He potentially even better.
In some things, in some things. And
can,
how do you not play him? Like,
well, you play him from the start, don't you? You play. I don't buy this like bringing him on after 60 minutes. Bollocks. Play him.
And if he's attracting the defenders around him, right?
As Mitch said, it brings space for the others.
Yeah, and Carey's going to have that space, and he's going to keep shooting. I mean, like, Carey was brilliant in that first part of the second half because like he was looking to take on the shots as well, and he has got a thump on him, hasn't he?
He was single-minded, Andy. With Carey, Jimmy on his first goal, Jimmy was looking to come on, play me in, but he didn't. Got his goal, and the second one, he picks up the ball in a very wide area. Mm. One touch, bang! He didn't have any hesitation. He knew what he was going to do. What a strike that was!
Straight into the far corner.
Yeah,
I think the first one we got probably a touch lucky with a deflection.
Yeah,
but you're only going to get deflections if you shoot.
Yeah, don't buy.
I thought Dale did well in the build up to that as well. I think it's the first one where Dale won the ball and I think lost his man and then laid it off to Carey. And but the one thing Carey can do is, whether he always scores is another matter, is he's got a good shot on him, and he is a goal scoring midfielder. I don't know whether that's his 3 or 4 this season, but he's at the crossbar. He's had various other shots as well. So he will always shoot, and I was pleased for him to see him.
That's 3 in 2 games, so that's him dropped for Saturday.
It was great to see when you see it back on TV as well, with all the limbs going behind the goal.
Yeah.
It's like proper old school, isn't it? You know, it's it takes you back to the 80s and stuff when you used to see that all the time.
Can I say something unfashionable, which is a certain credit to Critchley for the change, because I honestly thought he was going to take off Carey and put on Dembele and then maybe put on Morgan and keep the structure. And I think there's a certain credit for Critchley for saying, I'll chuck on Dembele, but I'll leave on Carey, because I think there were a few people in the south in the terrace who were quite keen to see the end of Carey at half time, and I think there's a certain credit for him for putting two, and this goes right back to the Jekyll and Hyde thing we were talking about, and that I think Andy said it, that we're either complete foot to the floor heavy metal football, or we're like in first gear, you know, cruising. There's no in between. I mean, that's a very impractical midfield, is Carey and Dembele. That's not a midfield that you'd go, oh yeah, I'll pick that. That works. We'd all go, no, that's a ridiculous idea. But actually, it worked bloody brilliantly. It worked brilliantly for about half an hour. So I think
they were just penned in, weren't they?
Yeah, they were superb, and you know, the pair of them. Well, Dembele with his magic, Carey was sort of looking like he may genuinely might get a hat trick every time the ball came out on the edge of the box. He was, you know, and then he was threading it as well, and we're playing it around the edges, and Rhodes was sort of coming deep and play, and we were brilliant for 20 minutes, absolutely brilliant.
You know what was amazing for me? Like, once we got the third, right? I mean, we probably had a spell of a few minutes after that, but then they started to come into the game a little bit, and this is what will spook Critchley into his let's get negative here and let's get Connolly and Morgan on, right? But actually, I just thought this is great. This is great. We want them to be back in the game a little bit because we want them to come out. And once they come out, we're just going to hit one pass here, and Dembele's going to be away again. And they're going to start giving Dembele a bit of space here. And then suddenly Connolly comes on, and Morgan come on. They're not trying to take the sting out of the game, but they are trying to hold on to that point, those 3 points. But we weren't all sitting back or whatever, but we hadn't got the threat that we had before.
Let's talk about Carey's goal. Lavery's goal first before that. Andy, Tim.
Good, right in front of me.
Lavery, when he was put clear. It was
beautiful ball.
Still had
Jordan.
It was John Rhodes, wasn't it? Still had a hell of a lot to do, didn't he? Coming in.
He always looks good coming in that left channel to me, Lavery. I think that's his forte, isn't it? When he's sort of, you know, I'm not saying play him out wide on the left, but when he's in that left channel and he's able to drive forward, he looks a really, really good player. And I think before he got injured last season, that's where it was in those channels. I think we saw the best football that he played, and he got some good goals from that. And it was a fantastic run. He was direct. He was positive. He only had one thing on his mind, and he finished it with aplomb, didn't he? And cue wild celebration,
pandemonium.
Absolutely, yeah. Proper limbs on the third one. Actually, when you watch the short replay, I don't know who's doing the editing and whether they cut it out because the thing's been chucked on the pitch. I don't know. But have you noticed they cut away from the crowd really, really quickly?
Yeah, I noticed that. It annoyed me.
It was like, it was almost like very amateurish the way it was done. It's probably Sean. We'll blame Sean. Sean must have been playing with the video editor. But
you wanted to see the limbs, didn't you?
Yeah, you want to see the limbs. It gets cut to like.
Is it not because that's what goes on that short edit? Is that not what goes on YouTube or wherever?
Yeah.
And if they're very keen not to present in a public face such things as Paper cups, for example, being thrown at players.
Do you remember when the ref took the paper cup? He deliberately stomped over, did he, after their second goal, and made a big deal of picking up the paper cup. And did he pass it to the police as well? I think he did.
The police, like an amazing piece of evidence here is that the paper cup.
Oh, David's made a point. Was it because of flares? Because of flares, maybe.
I will say one thing.
I don't think the flares were down in the corners, though.
At Blackpool, if you buy a drink on the concourse, you're not allowed a top, are you? They take the tops. You have to take your own top with you if you want one, right? But you're not allowed to have a bottle from the concourse with a top on, right? To stop you launching it. Yeah. So you're going to be launching in an empty bottle or whatever if you want to. And last night they were selling bottles with the tops on. So and thus they were getting a few launched. They're only plastic bottles getting launched, by the way, but just shows you, like,
we do have form for this, though, don't we? And it's I don't know why. I don't, it's
no one condones it.
Yeah, do you know, it took a bit of a sting out of the game as well. I think when we scored that third, I wanted the game going straight away because we could have got a fourth. It kind of killed a bit of momentum for me.
Yeah. We don't help ourselves, do we? Some of our supporters. I mean, they were as bad at the other end, weren't they? I mean, Grimmy stopped the game a couple of times for Grimmy. So there was within the ground, neither set of fans did themselves any good inside. We'll talk about the outside afterwards, but that's another thing.
Yeah. So 3-2 up. We were the team on the front foot. We looked like we were going to get a fourth.
And then Critchley happened.
Yeah, and then Critchley happened. Tim, I know you were particularly pissed off about this. I was as well, particularly when I saw Connolly coming on at left wing back. I mean, for me, that just completely shut off the left-hand side pitch as an outlet. And the ball just came to Connolly and he just looked to play it back
Dale
inside.
Dale had been having a good game. I think somebody was... I forgot who it was now. Said to me that he wondered whether Critchley was concerned about the fact that the tall player who was playing on their right, they were launching the ball across there a bit, and whether Dale was quite big enough to deal with him. But the way you defend is to keep hold of the ball, and Dale's of someone who keeps hold of the ball for us. So.
It's his natural side, or is it? Yeah.
I would, and we're bringing a,
we know Connolly doesn't work at left wing back. So you've got Dom Thompson. If you're going to replace like for like, you go with Dom Thompson there. You don't put
this is my point. That's my point, right? Thompson is on the bench. What has
left wing back? Left wing back.
So he's there as a left wing back.
He's a specialist left wing back.
Connolly's covering right back and the other
centre
right
half,
and the centre half's position.
Yeah.
And we take Dale off on the left hand side and put Connolly on. It defies belief to me. So last week he thought Thompson was a better left wing back than Connolly, right? And this week, 10 minutes to go, he decides to do the opposite, and which I think Matt has brought up several times about the lack of effectiveness of Connolly at left wing back. Certainly,
if you're going to do anything in that situation,
Carey was tiring, wasn't he? Carey was tiring. He should have been taken off. He put an absolute shift in. He was knackered.
But if you're going to be Connolly, I want to put Connolly in at centre back.
Yeah.
And put Obi at left back, who is a left back.
Yeah.
And convert to a 4 rather than a 3. That would make more logical sense. That is, if you want to shore up the back, do that and give Pateta some cover and play, and get a left back playing left back spot.
I think that's a really good shout, Tim. Do whatever. Keep a 5, shift to 4, do whatever, but put Hubby out to that side.
Yeah.
So Hubby actually is fine going forward as well. He's all right going forward.
Yeah.
You know, he certainly is
Got a
more
few
natural.
assists.
Yeah,
He can play anywhere. He can play anywhere, Mitch. He can play anywhere across the 11.
He's a total footballer. I think that's a really good shout. I hadn't thought of that, but definitely Carey was tiring. And look, you know, Carey has taken Gary's mantle of I will defend to the death. But I thought, you know, whatever it was, 80, 85 minutes, he was just looking leggy,
wasn't he?
Yeah, and he played brilliantly for me in that second half, and he was, you know, for all the, I think sometimes fair points that he sometimes looks not certain of what he's doing on the pitch. He looks absolutely certain of what he's doing on the pitch, and he was, you know, chasing into corners. And do you remember the one where he sort of launched the kind of flying slide tackle in the corner, and you know, and it was great to see him really playing like
central midfield is a very hard position. It's hard on you physically, so it was the natural.
And the board
sub.
went up, and I just thought, right, oh yeah, this will be sunny, and I'm not sure. And then I just went, what? Why is he doing that? I didn't get it at all. I just didn't get it. Having said that, you know, Connolly didn't really do anything wrong. I feel like we're all going, oh no, Connolly came on.
No, it wasn't.
Wrong, did he?
It wasn't that, Matt. It was the lack of impetus it gave us going forward.
Yeah.
I just think
that was what he was.
Point out that Connolly himself didn't actually do anything wrong.
Yeah.
In case Callum's watching and going, oh my God, what have you got against me? I don't think he actually put a foot wrong while he was on the pitch. I totally take the point that it takes away the left flank and all that. I think that's totally fair.
But then it came round to the 89th minute or 90th minute, didn't it? And we're going forward.
We were trying to attack, to be fair.
We were. And Carey's
It was a tired pass. It was a tired pass from Carey.
It was, John. It was. And
the thing about Carey is he only passes sideways and he never takes a risk.
So I mean, Dembele was through. If he threads that through, he's through, right? But he played it. It was a tired pass, and he played it too close to the defender. The defender intercepts, and then
plays Marriott in, and he's not closed down by Ekpiteta and Pennington.
It's all three of them. If you look,
it was like they were saying. It was like they were saying, "Go on, then."
You're not going to score from it. You're not going to score from it.
We're happy for you to shoot from there. Go on then. Right, straight in the top.
It was a great shot, though, wasn't it?
It was a great shot.
Yeah.
It was like they were encouraging him to shoot.
Yeah.
Like, for God's sake.
Do you want to have a look at the? Do you want to have a look at the momentum graph? Let's have a look at that.
Jesus.
That's the second half. Look at that second half. That tiny little upward graph.
That's it.
That pin
Is
prick.
Is that Nappers in the middle?
That little pin prick at the end was the goal. But that shows you how much we dominated that second half. And it was sickening.
Well, you mentioned the penalty shout, didn't you, as well? Can't remember exactly when that was in the
still
game.
Got to come to that. Yeah, that was
in injury time, was it?
Yeah,
it was about 6-7 minutes into injury time. Yeah, there was we had about 3 appeals, didn't we, all together? And
the thing is, when you're actually down right by the pitch, you can really hear the balls hit the hand as well, can't you?
Yeah, it looks that Hennigan one looked like it at the time, and then when I've watched it back, it looks
nailed on.
Nailed on. Dives and stops the ball.
His arms were in an unnatural position, outstretched. They weren't by the body.
The referee didn't look as though he'd seen it, and he was looking right at it.
I think he bottled it, Andy. I think he bottled it.
You're right. I think you're right.
I think he did see it. He bottled it.
He didn't want to see any more coins on the pitch or whatever.
Honestly,
I think you're right.
I thought he was behind play quite a lot because he wasn't that. He seemed quite youngish not youngish, but he didn't seem like one of them sort of quite clapped out refs you sometimes see that can't keep up. But
Looked a bit like you, Mitch, actually, didn't he?
well, yeah. So youngish, handsome type.
Streamlined.
Yeah.
Streamlined from the top.
Aerodynamic.
He's
There we go.
just purely by choice. He's gone for a shaved head. But there were a few calls he made where he just seemed to be a long way away from it, and he just wouldn't book any of their players. He booked a couple of hours for very small things, and then there was one in the corner. I can't remember who he was. One of our lads got absolutely clattered, and he just sort of walked over and had a little chat with the Fleetwood player and said, "Would you be kindly not kick players up in the air, thanks." And then he booked Connolly for a bit of a shirt tug in the corner, didn't he? And it was, and I really thought with that one, I thought he was onside, he was behind it, and I think you're right as well. He thought, well, if I've not seen it, I'm probably better get out of here in one piece. And then we had the effort.
Maybe he was getting the tram home.
Then the one that went across the line.
Pennington.
Twice. It was a really good save, the first one, and then Pennington followed up and stabbed off the line. I mean,
from our viewpoint, though, Mitch, you couldn't really see anything.
No,
you can't see anything. You're leaning over, and Eddie said to me, "I didn't see any of the goals, even though I saw the ball going there." Eddie wanted to go home at half time as well.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
To be fair, John, that stands pretty good for the Northwest Counties, to be honest.
I enjoyed that stand, I've got to say. But Eddie's eyes were shining though when we went 3-2 up, because I said to him, "You're glad you come now?" And he was like, his eyes were just like, it was brilliant to see.
It reminded me of, if you went back to the old 80s games, that when he went to like Rochdale away or Wigan away.
Colchester, it reminds me of their terrace behind the goal, like about 4 steps.
And the best ever was Crewe, because when people were stood up on the railings, you literally couldn't see the pitch. So I remember going there on New Year's Day. We won 2-0 when Paul Stewart was playing, and all the lads were hanging off what was then the barriers that kept you off the pitch, and you literally couldn't see the game at all. I haven't got a chance because there was no proper terrace. So it reminded me very much of that, but in a what I would call a fairly nostalgic way. I quite enjoyed it.
So a quick look at match stats then. What's the other one? What's that one? We're not all on there. Oh well, I need to readjust my.
Is that one for if you've got
my layout thing?
Yes.
You'll have to move over, Andy.
Sorry,
right, the key thing I wanted to point out there was
part of the broadcast being off it.
30 shots, 7 on target. I thought the XG might be higher, actually, 1.43. I think maybe the fact that the first half was so shit has dragged that down a bit. But why can't we play like that second half? Well, for the first 35 minutes for every game.
Is that just for the second half? Is that for the whole game?
That's the whole game.
That's the whole. But if you look at that, you look at those stats, you should be winning, shouldn't you? You should be winning a game when you've had 30 shots at goal. And
I think half of them were carries as well.
Well, I can tell you, John. Carey had 5 shots, 3 on targets. Lavery had 7 shots. He was our highest shot maker. And Rhodes had 6. And actually, none of Rhodes were on target, I don't think, or only one of Rhodes was on target. He was a bit, not quite his usual clinical self.
It is a drought now. 2 games is a drought.
It's my fault because I said something about somebody said he's a goal machine, and I said, "Well, I'm not sure he's quite Gary Medine level." And they said, "Yeah, well, he needs to not score for about 8 games." And I said, "Well, that'd be ideal because it's all a bit unsubtle for me. All this just scoring that's really too unsubtle for a goal machine. So maybe I've cursed him."
Hope not. For God's sake, we need him.
Yeah. But his all-round play was great last night. Like we said, didn't we, when we were watching it? He brought, for a player again that we said, he'll just score goals. He actually brought loads to the team last night, even though he didn't score. So
The Let's move on to player ratings and quickly. We're on an hour and a half.
Can I just quickly say,
Mm.
because I don't want to say too much about it because it'll be under investigation, but whoever the idiots were who threw bricks at the tram afterwards when everyone came out need a head looking at. Really seriously. That isn't what it isn't good. It shouldn't be we shouldn't idiots like that shouldn't be condoned in any action that they make.
Smashing up their own trap, smashing up their own transit system as well.
Absolute
idiots.
Joke. But anyway, apparently
the police were noticeable by their absence.
What surprise!
What would be the flashpoint, isn't it? Where people get the trams home is where there should be a big police presence. Just like when Preston were going to Blackpool South a couple of 18 months ago.
And they didn't police the train station.
Yeah.
They didn't police Waterloo Road and the train station. Every man and his dog looked at that map and said the flashpoint will be Waterloo Road and the train station, Blackpool South.
And I did tell last night the flashpoint's going to be where people
the flashpoint was the tram station. Yeah, Stanley Road tram station, tram stop. That was going to be the flashpoint. Surely to God, put some police there. No, and that's
there was enough of them there as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's
rocking up in all the vans.
Absolutely brain dead policing. I'm sorry to say, you don't want to cane them all the time, but that was brain dead policing last night, and there was loads there. There was loads
on
more
those
than enough.
Well, wasn't there? Kids on those trams.
Women, children. You want that? You're not just getting it. Some of the lads that might want to go or whatever. It was families on that tram.
Did the bricks come through when the tram was stationary then, or when it was on the move?
I don't know.
No. When it's stationary, from what I understand.
Right, okay. They've got no excuse then, have they? If it's on the move, then fair enough. What you're going to do? But if it's stationary at a stop, police should be there.
We sort of took a wrong turning and then had to turn back onto that road that goes up the side of the train tracks, up the side of the tram tracks, and obviously there was then blue lights there. Well, shock horror that they suddenly jumped to it after the event, and so many times the policing is so obviously inept, and they need sorting out. So the police in Critchley have got a meeting tomorrow morning to decide who's the most inept.
And then we'll see Tash and Oakley Bools stood at the tram stop, not doing much next.
With his agent, Tyrese John Jules.
Have the police made any statement about it?
They have to say they're investigating.
Right.
They said they're investigating lots of incidents from last night, including the tram.
Okay.
Right. So, in other words, there was lots of
things. They do need to look at their own performance, don't they? Because it is the one place you needed a good police presence was there. More than anywhere else.
Literally, we walked out the ground on Saturday and had to get a wiggle on getting out straight away. So we didn't stay for Critchley's fist pumps for the 4-2 loss, right? We got straight out. So we came out and we were just by the old casino, by the arcade club, right? And the away fans started to come round. And we're having to tell the police, just let them go. Let them go to the Armfield Club. And let's have a load of trouble again. For God's sake, someone sort it out. It needs sorting out. Honestly, they were there. Peterborough were there on Illuminations weekend, right? Everyone knows that they're going to bring a few, and there's going to be a few idiots around that have been on the ale all day, and then you're going to throw them straight onto Bloomfield Road, straight into a load of Blackpool fans and think that's all right.
But we can't use the north east gate.
You can't use Northgate because we might cause the trouble. Right? It's always Blackpool fans that cop for it. Week in, week out. The Peterborough fans on Saturday were pretty rank, right, down by the Ultras end, right? And like we were on the south end, they were pretty appalling, the Peterborough, and not one person did anything. Like, you got guys going out and kicking the ball over the stand and stuff like that, and no one even talks to them. Just run back to the seat. If a Blackpool fan did that, we'd be lobbed out, and that's how it feels. It's all about us being the naughty boys and things like that, and to hell with anybody else. They can do what they want, and it needs sorting out. And anyway, that's my piece said. So,
should we do police ratings as well?
Police ratings. Pretty shite last night.
I have to do a manager rating. I know that.
Should we do player ratings if we've got time?
Yeah, go quickly. Run through.
Right, go on then. Let's start with, you've had a rant, Andy, so let's start with you, Tim. Let's get the graphic up. You can have Grimmy.
Yeah, not his finest performance, was it, as we discussed last night? It wasn't overly all. But I'm not having the second one. I think he should have done better. 6.
Andy Pennington, 6.6 on the Fat Mob rating. Too slow for me in closing down.
Definitely.
Marriott.
I think some of the stuff that he does is good, but like 6-.
Big Marv, Mitch, funny, you actually said to me, I was thinking, the conversation was saying, when people think Marv's great, but it's always like when he's covering for his own cock-ups, and he nearly did exactly this. Well, he did exactly that in the second half, didn't he? Made a horrendous mistake, but got himself out of jail.
He did, and he did okay. He did okay. I don't think he did any particularly worse than anybody else in that back line. I don't remember him being particularly culpable for any of the goals individually. He did okay. 6.
That's what I was thinking. Hobby Tim, magnificent as ever.
Yeah, I think he was most certainly the pick of the back line, wasn't he? I don't think we can speak too highly about the way he's played this season. Obviously, ex-COD himself going right back, wasn't he?
He got Big Nan sent off, didn't he? And laughed about it after he got body slammed to the floor by Angelo.
8.
Laughing at us and giving us the thumbs up.
8 I'm going for.
Love how we've just begun these players with the interaction with the crowd. Somebody's got to stop it, and now we're going, oh, he's great the way he keeps playing the crowd shit, isn't he?
Daz McKenzie, Hobby had a poor first half. Well, I think they all did, Daz, to be fair. CJ Hamilton, Andy, gets an 8.2 there. I think that's a bit generous, personally.
Yeah, I think so. It's the struggle I had last night was he had the beating of the fullback, but I don't think we gave him that many options either.
Do you remember the chop? Do you remember the chop?
He's trying to cut it back, to be fair.
Do you remember the Ronaldo chop he did?
Yeah,
the Ronaldo chop on the cross. That's my abiding memories from last night.
I can't even knock him down for his cross into our box. I can't.
That's a plus point because it was a great cross.
It was a great.
Unfortunately, in the wrong
game.
Card,
yeah. I think. Look, he did okay, but I've seen him do better. 7+.
I'm going to engineer this. Tim gets Oakley Booth. No, maybe not. Mitch or more balance, so you can have Oakley Booth.
Yeah. He's got a very good passing statistics. 94.6 accurate passes or something. Very, very good because he only passed it to you. Look, I've already said what I think. That I really struggled to see what he actually added to our team. Was he directly responsible for any of the goals? Did he score an own goal? Did he punch somebody on his own team? No. So I suppose I can't go too low. Oh, I mean, we don't normally go that low.
I think you have to.
4-.
What's everyone's thinking? I'm thinking
Right,
4.
3.
I'm thinking
3
4.
springs to mind.
I would have given him a 4, to be honest.
What are you thinking, Tim?
You'd have to do something
Let's do an aggregate.
I was looking slightly lower.
What were you thinking, Tim?
3.
Yeah, I'd gone.
On that basis, then, 4
Mitch was
minus.
thinking 3, but thought I can't really justify going that low.
4
3
minus.
plus.
4 plus. 3 plus it is.
Whatever. That's the worst. That's the worst we've given all season, and there's a reason for that. Bailing out of a challenge was -6 points.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir Kenneth of Dougal. Tim.
I thought he was the best of a bad bunch in the first half, and continued to play pretty well in the second. I wouldn't say it was his best game, but he's proving incredibly consistent this season. And probably maybe League One's his level. He's a very, very good player at this level. 8+.
Okay, Sonny Carey. Sonny all action Carey, Andy. Has he
give
removed
him a load
the
of credit for 2 goals, and influencing the play going forward. I have to mark him down for the wayward pass that led to their 3rd goal.
Oh, come on. It wasn't a wayward pass. It was an attempted through
You
ball.
could blame the manager for not taking him off.
It just wasn't.
It was a through ball.
Yes,
Well, I know he's tired.
It was, but
It wasn't like passing it across your own box or across your own.
Like you've got to mark him down for that. He has to be. But on the main, it was good last night, and you've probably seen, certainly going forward, you saw the best of him last night. So I will give him an 8+.
Just going back as well, something Sinister's made the point. Do you notice how Kenny, ultra professional, made sure he got booked with a really just so he misses Bromley and doesn't miss a league game. So he's going to miss Saturday, but
Believe so. Tactical booking.
So I've cancelled my hotel for Wembley on the back of that.
What, for the FA Cup final you're talking about?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, it's the FA Cup semi-final now.
Oh yeah, I'd have gone for both. Bloody Dougal missing out at Bromley.
Where were we? Who's Owen Dale? Who's up next? I've lost my train of thought.
I think it's me.
Yeah.
Do you know, Mitch? Just as a quick aside, doesn't it feel weird when you hear people shouting, "Go on, Owen"?
It doesn't.
I refuse to say it. It's like, "Go on, Owen." It's got to be Dale for me.
He was good though, and he probably alongside Dougal first half. He was the one bit of endeavour. He was trying. He was picking the ball up. He's running inside. He was trying going outside. He was putting. I thought he did okay first half as well, and I think generally had a decent game for me again. So if Carey's an 8.5, then Dale is. What?
Excuse
what
me.
is this?
Sorry,
what is
I've done
this
it again.
madness you are speaking?
Yellow card.
This is
Blasphemy.
Hang on.
2 strikes. Third one, I get banished to the other podcast. He is a 8-. Thought he had a good game.
Yeah, agree with that. You can have Jordan Rhodes, Tim. An assist for Lavery's goal, wasn't it? Hit the bar.
Yeah, and I think you always get value for money with Jordan. Yes, he hasn't scored the last 2 games, but he's played his part. He's set up what should have been the winning goal, and was generally busy. 7+.
That's fair. Killian, Anonymous, Kouassi, Andy.
Not his best game for us by a long stretch, and just
wasn't
wrong
in the game at all, was he?
Wrong game against them. 5.
I think we've had 2 subs coming on at half time. I think it's only fair to rate them. So,
yeah,
Mitch, you can start with Karamoko Dembele. What's the difference? What a player.
I've done the monologue, haven't I? Fantastic. And I'm going to... I feel like giving him a 9 because he just thought he was...
That's what I'm thinking.
Lightning. Yeah.
I was thinking 9+.
Yeah, I think 9 because I don't know whether he personally made an incisive contribution such as an incredible assist or goal, but his all-round stuff. I've just made up that rule that's that. But I'd go with 9. It was just what came to my head. 9+. I wouldn't argue too much, but 9. I'm going to go. I'm just waffling now. He was very good.
No Dembele, no party.
If David Coleman wants a 9+, I'll give him a 9+ because David Coleman is a gentleman.
He's a nice chap, isn't he?
He's a lovely man.
And David, yes, this is a record. 1 hour, 52 minutes.
And Tim's not talked that much.
I know. Yeah. I've been quite enjoying doing the listening tonight, actually.
We haven't even had a fielding monologue, have we?
No rant tonight. You might have got one last night.
I've been bubbling mine up all day.
A Gricey gripe. Love it.
More of those on the way.
Gricey gripe, a Mitch monologue, a fielding.
Fatwa.
Come on, Tim. Fill in the blanks. Faux pas. Right, Tim, you can have Shane Lavery again, another player that made a huge difference.
Yeah, I thought he brought energy. Listen, I'm Kouassi's. I like Kouassi, but it wasn't his game last night. I thought Shane was superb when he came on. Energy, drive, positivity. I'm going to go a 9 with him as well.
Yeah,
he had that. He deserved it.
And
listen, I've criticised him a couple of times, but I thought he's everything I want from him last night. It's fantastic.
And one more thing for Rhodes is Lavery and Rhodes played together last night, and we've said on here before, he's never quite struck a partnership up with anyone, and those two look, and that's another thing for me of Rhodes is he just looks like he can play with almost anybody. He will. He's just so clever the way he moves, the way he watches, the way he reads and processes the play that he actually. With Kouassi, he's had some great games with Kouassi, but with Lavery, he just sort of weighs him up. What's he? And I think he's absolutely top class in that respect. And I think Labs can really benefit from playing with Rhodes because I think if Labs can finally click with somebody else, I still think there's quite a few goals in Labs this season.
It better be at my 50-1. Just needs a couple of hat-tricks very quick.
We are, Tim. We are going to do a manager rating. I think everyone's chomping at the bit for this. Manager rating. Andy, where you go?
Oh, don't get me started. Jesus Christ.
Let's have a little comment and a score.
It's not going to be a little comment.
Feet end was my first word.
Let's have a Gricey gripe.
Like Critchley, listen up. You need to sort yourself out, fella. It's not good enough, and it's not good enough for the manager. And it started from the team that he started with. It wasn't good. It was Saturday. It wasn't good today. So, I'll drive him all the way to a 3. And he made the subs at half time, but in all seriousness, fellas, any of us could have stood there at half time and made those changes. Any of us.
So obvious, weren't they? They were so obvious.
It was. Right. And I stand by my comments before right, Critchley needs to get rid of one of his yes men and get somebody in.
I don't think Brunskill's a yes man. I
to-
think Brunskill just shrugs and goes, I don't know. Like
Oh,
that.
Maybe you need to borrow
you know,
TC's iPad.
Garrett is his right hand man, really, isn't he? Brunskill came in after McCall left and stuff, but Critchley looked a better fit with Calderwood or McCall there, and like it needs sorting out. And whoever's there at the club, if they bother to listen to this or whatever, I'm sure they probably don't, but I sort it out, because Critchley needs somebody who's going to think. I mean, all of us could have looked at that team before he picked it on Saturday and last night, and told him what was going to happen.
It's like it's a little bit like if you and you go into this, we talk about boardrooms, and when Carl used to say we've got a great boardroom because we do everything I say and nobody else just agrees with me. Do you remember? But a strong boardroom isn't one where everybody agrees. A strong boardroom, and I've been in boardrooms. A strong boardroom is where people challenge decisions and make sure it's the right one. So if somebody comes into our boardroom and says, "What to do this," I might think it's a good idea, but I'll do the devil's advocate and say, "But what about this? What about that?" And that's what Critchley needs. Critchley needs, for me, and we've had this before, Critchley needs someone who's played football at a decent level, which he hasn't, who he actually respects the opinion of. And I think since he's had somebody in there whose opinion he respects, it might make him modify some of his selections or modify some of his thought processes, rather than somebody who's just going to do the Phil Neal to Graham Taylor and go, "Yes, boss, that's a great idea, boss." You don't want that. You want somebody to say, "Well, what about this? What about that? Have you thought about that?" That's what you want. And I don't get the impression he's getting that. He might be, but it doesn't come across that way. And that's what we're missing. That for me is the golden nugget of what will decide where we are this season. If we're going to go anywhere, we need somebody who's not going to go, "Yes, boss." And if it's one of the existing staff, great. It is not. But somebody's going to say, "Yeah, but what about? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about the fact that when we tried that last time, it didn't work?"
And maybe see something different in the opposition as well.
Yeah.
Like, this player might be able to stop that, or what?
But I think it needs to be somebody who's played at a decent level.
He just needs to concentrate on our game and stop worrying about the opposition all the time. Play to our strengths. Let them worry about us. We've got some great players. Play to our strengths. Let them worry about us.
So my score, having had my little mini monologue rant, is I'm going to go 4. It was 2 for the first half, I'll be honest. But he does get a couple of brownie points back for doing the obvious, but doing the obvious at half time and not leaving it to the 60th minute, which is what I was expecting. But then he sort of like loses a bit again for like what he did at the end. So I think I've been generous, slightly more generous than Andy, but it's a 4, unfortunately. And I think that's a pattern over the last few games that I'm not happy with. And it's got to change. Got to.
I'll be very slightly more measured because I wasn't at Peterborough, so whatever you experienced at Peterborough was 3 times better than Queens of the South versus Cove Rangers, which really is a standard of football that you should go and watch and then come back and watch the League One game, because it makes League One look like, I don't know, Premier League football. Anyway, first half, totally agree, dreadful, selection poor. I think, like I said before, I think he didn't do just the obvious at halftime. I think actually he deserves credit for leaving the 2 sort of creative, forward-thinking midfielders on. So, and I think you can maybe overstate a little bit the end of the game. Were we running out of legs? Were we tired? Did he quite have the options? I don't know. You can always make the wrong substitution. And if Carey's pass is a yard wide, Dembele gets in, scores, 4-2, tactical masterclass, we all go home and go, wow, he pulled that one out of the bag. It's fantastic. Such a fine margins. So after saying I'm going to be more measured, I'm going to agree with Tim and give him a 4.
No voice of reason tonight.
Where's Nick Smith when you need him?
Bad back.
Yeah.
And all these like extra strength painkillers, he may
still-
become like completely opposite as he is normally and come out all guns blazing, slating everybody.
He's not been the same since his flock of seagulls quiff seems to have gone to a bird. Not seen that often enough recently.
We need Nick to come on and drop a Napa style C-bomb, don't we? Oh, that was part of Seaside's podcast history, that. Are we going to do a quick man of the match before we head off? Karamoko Dembele gets mine.
Yeah, Dembele for me. For his spectacular half.
You could
Okay, he's got a brace.
Could argue Carey, but I think Dembele was so good in that second half. He for the time on the pitch.
Game changer.
You could I wouldn't have any issue if you pick Carey, but there you go.
I'm going to pick Carey, but it doesn't matter because it's 3-1 in it. So it's Dembele. I think it probably is Dembele, really, but
I think for the minutes he was on the pitch, the impact minutes. Can we have the proper team we're playing on Saturday?
Did you see he took that away quite quickly? I think he probably realised.
Right, we've got Burton at home. Away,
No,
sorry.
No, we haven't.
Not Burton.
Bromley.
Away.
I was
using
an old banner. And just. Damn, did you spot it?
Yeah,
He's like the Sonny Carey. He's played too long. He should have been hooked after an hour and a half.
Yeah, that was my tired pass.
Yeah, there you go.
He's not ready for the 12 minutes of stoppage time.
Right. Well, I've got a hat in my kitchen somewhere with 24 balls in. Right. So if anyone wants to have a go at picking the team, we'll go and pick it out of a hat because that's I assume this is what's happening on Saturday because I see nothing here. I see nothing for us here.
Oakley Booth's going to have the captain's armband, Andy.
Plastic pitch. Well, yeah, that about sum it up. That right. Plastic pitch
on
against
TV.
a team who are flying in their league at the minute. Right, where we probably need to put our best team out, and we won't. And I think
we might get close to doing it. I think
close to doing what, Tim? Close to doing what? Close to doing what?
I think he'll play a stronger team than we think he's going to play. It'll be the reverse. Whatever it is with Critchley, it'll be the reverse of what you think.
There's a few players floating around that need a game, like, say, Jensen Weir. And it'd be obvious to... Yeah, Lyons, Weir. There's a few that have maybe got a point to prove or need a game. Lyons,
Beasley will play.
Tomo, and Jake Beasley. That'll be the nation's TV audience will be in for a treat with Super Jake Beasley up front. So yeah, I think that. I mean, are we picking a team or not? Or are we just
no? We're just
please not, because
we're just looking at this team form of Bromley of winning their last 4 games on the bounce and being 3rd from top of the National League.
And that the National League's better than a lot of League Two. Yeah, they would be near the top of League Two if they were. So it's a banana skin for us, isn't it? It's got no redeeming features whatsoever. It's too far away to go. It's on a plastic pitch. It's against a team who are quite good. And we really need to rest a lot of players, but we can't afford to if we want to get through. There you go.
Saying that, Tim,
we haven't got a game next midweek, have we?
The National League has lost Stockport, Wrexham, and Notts County, who were the real sort of power and money in it. I don't know if that assumption that they'd be at the top of League Two quite holds the same as it did. I don't know. I'm trying to cheer myself up now because I now don't want to watch on Saturday.
That Rochdale and Oldham, it seems weird to see them in there, doesn't it? the National League.
And Chesterfield. And...
Yeah. Hartlepool, Southend.
Yeah.
But let's make no mistake. This is a hard game. This.
Oh, it is a hard game. Yeah.
I think the plastic pitch is the biggest factor because
we don't train on one day to day, do we?
No, but the other thing
a lot of teams have a plastic pitch at the training ground that they train on all the time.
A certain vintage will remember when the Nobbers had a plastic pitch, Oldham had a plastic pitch, Luton had one.
They were like concrete, weren't they?
What a huge advantage it was. I mean, you played on Preston a few times. It's horrible. But if you're playing it every single week, you adapt to it a lot better than if you're just playing it once. And I know the pitches have come on a bit since then, but notwithstanding that, it is still a huge difference.
Even at grassroots, Tim, when I take my team on a 3G pitch, it's completely different, the game. The ball travels faster. There's so many different variables in the game.
Yeah.
So
it's a huge advantage to them.
It's not as though he's had the time to prepare for it, is it either? Like, I mean, even if we had a game Tuesday, it'd have had him off Wednesday and then probably trained on a plastic pitch Thursday, Friday, or whatever, right? But it's not as though he's got that chance, and it's a decent travel for us as well, isn't it?
Mm. So they'll travel tomorrow, won't they? So
what we're thinking then? Let's have a
Doug
prediction and
Tom,
do
with
one.
his massive Edel score, it'll be fine.
I'll go for 1-0 win.
I'm going for 2-1 defeat and out of the cup.
I think we'll lose 3-1.
I can't believe I'm the most positive.
Well, I think we'll win 10-0. It's fine.
I'm sincerely hoping. If you notice for Peterborough, I said 4-0, but I never said 0-2. But I sincerely hope we win, and I'm not one of those that is. I'm not bothered. If you talk to a few fans, they'll say I'm not bothered about the cup. Get out of the cup, and we're not bothered about the cup. Just concentrate on the league. I'm not in that camp. I think it's really important to us that we gain any extra cash we can, and if we can get a big game in the third or fourth round,
we'll go 3-0, then Critch will make subs, and we will lose 5-3. Yeah, I think that's
But if we get through, we can make some cash, and that could go towards a bit more towards our budget for next year or whatever it would be. But
When the cash will win the cup, it'll be fine. All the way to Wembley.
We'll go to Wembley like 3 times this year, couldn't we?
Yeah.
4 times. 4 times when we win the FA Cup, win the EFL Cup, and
Playoffs.
No, we're out of that. We're out of that. We got hammered at the EFL Cup. Is that the trophy?
That's
we're out of the EFL Cup.
We're all right in that.
Cherry Field as well. Sorted.
Right, we're just mumbling nonsense now, aren't we? 2
absolutely.
hours, new record. I think it's time to go. So everyone, thanks for your input this evening, gents. It's good to see Tim out talked. So it's a +1 from me for that. Just to everyone watching this on YouTube, if you can, like and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, it would be greatly appreciated. And I think we all need to recharge our batteries now, and we'll be coming back after maybe next week, and who knows, but the Bolton's the big one coming up, and I think we'll do a preview before that. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for downloading Up the Pool.
Up the Pool.